some of them double stacked as well. Whoa, we got Cletus going around. Going to go around. Oh, with heavy damage. The loudest thing about Garrett Mitchell's career has always been the volume. Burnouts, sold-out grandstands at the Freedom Factory. Almost 5 million subscribers, more than 2 billion views. Wednesday night at Berlin Raceway was the opposite of all of that. A 20-second qualifying position. A middle finger from the race leader while being lapped. A tire rubbed fenders, a spin nobody saw coming in, and a walk across the infield with no crowd and no music. This was the quiet version of his career, the part that does not get uploaded with a thumbnail, and it may turn out to be the most important night he has had in a race car. To understand why that night carried any weight at all, you have to go back several months to a decision that had nothing to do with Berlin Raceway and everything to do with what happened there. Earlier in 2026, following his debut in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, Garrett Mitchell submitted a request to run a second race in that series at Talladega Superspeedway. NASCAR officials declined the request. Their reasoning was not vague. They stated that they wanted to see him compete on more short tracks in the series while continuing his efforts in the ARCA Menard Series and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Speaking about the decision in a video afterward, he said simply that it is what it is and confirmed that he had additional truck races on his schedule. That single decision reframes everything about Wednesday night. The entry at Berlin Raceway was not a content grab and it was not a promotional stunt built around a channel upload. It was the exact assignment a sanctioning body had handed him. He was told he needed short track experience and he went and got it at one of the least forgiving short tracks available to him in the country. That is the lens this race needs to be judged through, not as a result as coursework. Mitchell, 31 years old, was born on the 5th of April, 1995 and comes from Bradenton, Florida. He owns the Freedom Factory, the racetrack in Bradenton that has become the physical home base of everything he does. Online under the name Cletus McFarland, he has built one of the largest automotive audiences on the internet. With a subscriber count approaching 5 million and a lifetime view total above 2 billion, the racing arsome is the part that matters here. And in 2026, it has been substantial. Across the season, he has made a combined 9 starts across 2 ARCA divisions and the lower 2 NASCAR National Series. Those starts are spread across the ARCA Menard Series, the ARCA Menard Series East, the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The high points are real. On the 25th of April, he finished second in the ARCA Menard Series race at Talladega Superspeedway. On the 4th of April, he finished fourth in the ARCA Menard Series East event at Rockingham Speedway. On the 14th of February, he finished 11th in the ARCA Menard Series race at Daytona International Speedway. The difficult results are equally real and they are worth stating plainly rather than skipping past. On the 4th of April, he finished 32nd in the North Carolina Education Lottery 250 at Rockingham Speedway in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. On the 30th of May, he finished 35th in the Sports Illustrated Resorts 250 at Nashville Superspeedway. On the 14th of February, in his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut at Daytona International Speedway, he finished 37th. There is also a personal thread running underneath the entire 2026 season. Greg Biffle, the veteran NASCAR driver who had become a close friend and racing mentor to Garrett Mitchell, died in a plane crash on the 18th of December along with his family. Greg Biffle had served as an advisor for the ARCA debut at Daytona International Speedway. Garrett Mitchell spoke at the Gathering of Remembrance and has since carried the phrase "Be like Biff" through his season. Now look at that list of racetracks again. Daytona International Speedway, Talladega Superspeedway, Kansas Speedway, Michigan International Speedway, Nashville Superspeedway, Rockingham Speedway, Superspeedways, and intermediate tracks drafting, pack racing, and long sweeping corners where aerodynamics carry an enormous share of the workload. Berlin Raceway is not that. It is not close to that. Berlin Raceway sits in Michigan, and measures 438,000 of a mile. It is a high-banked bullring well under half a mile in total length where cars get loose without much warning and the margin for error is extremely small. The most useful description of the place does not come from a statistic. It comes from Carson Hocevar, a NASCAR Cup Series driver, a friend of Garrett Mitchell, and a previous winner of this exact event. His assessment of the track was direct. There's never been a perfect race car at Berlin. It's just about who's the best of the worst in handling. That is the racetrack he chose for his first super late model start. The field he chose to do it against was not a soft one. 27 cars took the green flag in the Tekin 250 battle at Berlin, racing for a $40,000 winner's prize over 250 laps. Bubba Pollard was in that field. Widely regarded as one of the all-time greats of super late model racing. Carson Hocevar was there, a Cup Series regular and a past winner of this race. Ty Majeski was there, a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. Tristan was there, Aspire Motorsports prospect, and one of the rising young names in pavement racing. Beyond those four, the entry list included Terry Sank, Joey Doran, Triton Lapsevich, and Evan Shotco. All established short-track competitors with long records at this level. Here is the sentence that frames the entire evening. This was lap 1 of Garrett Mitchell's entire super late model career against people who have been racing this specific type of car at this specific type of racetrack for decades. Qualifying placed him 22nd in a 27-car field that deserves an honest reading rather than a generous one. It is mid-pack toward the rear. It is not a competitive starting position, and it is also not an embarrassing number for a driver taking his first competitive laps in this discipline at a track he had never raced. Early in the event, the first significant moment arrived. Garrett Mitchell spun while attempting to avoid an incident developing ahead of him. He kept the car off the wall, recovered it, and rejoined the field without ending his night. At a track shaped like Berlin Raceway with banking that tight and walls that close, a spin at speed very often finishes in the fence. This one did not, and the save is worth crediting on its own terms. Through the middle stages, the night became a grind. He dealt with rubbed fenders. He dealt with a tire rub. He was working through the ordinary physical toll of short-track competition while learning the racing surface in real time. Then came a moment that has been widely circulated since and that is regularly misread. While being put a lap down by race leader Evan Shotco, contact between the two cars resulted in Evan Shotco delivering a middle finger as he went past. It is easy to file that under embarrassment. The more accurate reading is different. A driver at the very back of the field running out of everyone's way does not draw a reaction from the race leader. That gesture indicates he was close enough to the leader line to require navigating around. He was an obstacle in the racing groove, not a rolling chicane parked on the bottom of the racetrack. Meanwhile, the fight for the actual win was developing at the front, and it produced the most dramatic sequence of the night. Evan Shotco, who had won this race a few years earlier, led much of the 250 laps. With just under 15 laps remaining, problems began to appear. He surrendered the lead to Bubba Pollard in second position to Tristan McFarland. Then something appeared to break on the right front of his number 22 machine. He went hard into the turn 3 wall and his night ended just short of the checkered flag. Evan Shotco was classified 16th. That handed the lead to Bubba Pollard and set up a door-to-door fight for victory between Bubba Pollard and Tristan McFarland over the closing laps. With a handful of laps left, Bubba Pollard appeared to bottom out entering turn 3. That settled the outcome. Tristan McFarland went on to take his first victory in the Tekin 250 battle at Berlin. Bubba Pollard settled for second. Carson Hocevar finished third. Ty Majeski finished fourth. Boris Yavich finished fifth, and with roughly 19 laps remaining, the night ended for Garrett Mitchell. He got loose in turn 3 as leader Evan Shotco was closing to put him a lap down. The car snapped and spun down the racetrack. Evan Shotco managed to thread past and avoid contact. The car directly behind did not have that option. Keith Herp in the number 18 machine was collected in the incident, and the contact tore apart the nose and the entire right side of his car. Garrett Mitchell's own car sustained heavy damage across the front. Keith Herp was classified 18th, Garrett Mitchell was classified 19th out of 27 starters in the number 33 machine. This is the section that separates Wednesday night from an ordinary bad debut. After climbing out, Garrett Mitchell walked directly to the team he had collected. He did that on the night at the racetrack on camera before addressing his own damage in any detail. Speaking to Flow Racing in the infield, his summary of his own performance was 2 words long. "Well, I just suck." He expanded on it in a video posted to his social media afterward. He opened that video by pointing out that Keith Herp had received the worst of the crash, noting that he had already gone over to speak with that team and apologizing again on camera. On the cause, he did not hedge. He said he had overcooked the corner and gotten loose. The most substantial thing he said, and the line that has traveled furthest since Wednesday, was about the standard of competition itself. "Completely got my ass kicked tonight, but I learned a lot, man. The racecraft that you need to pass somebody when there's really just no good place to pass was insane. Snorts, it was so competitive. This is just as hard as the big series in NASCAR." He closed by stating that the damage to the new late model is fixable and that he needs to get back out and keep learning. There is a practical reason this matters beyond the sentiment. Short track paddocks operate on reputation, and word moves quickly through them. Who owns a mistake in front of the people affected by it and who avoids doing so is remembered for years. Drivers, car owners, and crew members watching Wednesday night saw someone race aggressively, make an error, and address it directly with the team that paid for it. That is the element of the evening most likely to open doors, and it has nothing to do with finishing 19th. The turnaround is extremely short. On Saturday, the 15th of August, the first ever race of the Cletus McFarland Late Model Series is scheduled at Berlin Raceway. It is a 75-lap event, paying $20,000 to win. Run as part of the Michigan 100 in Burnout Rivals event. Registration for late model drivers open weeks in advance. There is a distinction here that is worth stating clearly because it is being glossed over in much of the coverage. That series is a pro late model package. It is not the super late model class he competed against on Wednesday. The specification is lower, the horsepower is reduced, and the field is one he sits much closer to the middle of. It is a fundamentally different test than the one he took at the Tekin 250 battle at Berlin. The open question heading into that event is equipment. He has stated the damage is reparable. Whether a repaired chassis or a backup car appears at the racetrack on a 2-day turnaround has not been publicly confirmed. Beyond August, the calendar continues. On the 23rd of October, he is scheduled to return to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, driving the number 4 truck for Nice Motorsports at Talladega Superspeedway. So, here is the honest accounting of Wednesday night at Berlin Raceway. He qualified 22nd. He was lapped by the leader. He was slower than the front of the field for the entire race. He spun with 19 laps remaining, destroyed the front of a car he had owned for a matter of weeks, and ended the night of another competitor who had done nothing wrong. He finished 19th of 27. And he walked out of that racetrack with a stronger standing in the short track community than he carried into it. Having said out loud that grassroots racing is as hard as the big series in NASCAR, and having said it while standing next to the wreckage that proved it. Does a wreck in a debut at Berlin Raceway carry any meaning at all? Or is 19th simply 19th?